The history of the Buffalo Bandits is rich, and it became that much richer in the year 2008 when the team rolled to its fourth NLL title. And in this little Zoom hangout, we have a lot of members who were on that team, around that team, and cherishing the moments building up to that championship game win against the Portland Lumberjacks. Welcome in, and gentlemen, there are a lot of introductions to do, so why don't we kind of go around the horn and say hello to everybody. Pat McCready, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I know it's going to be an awful lot of fun. Buffalo boy Joe Smith, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me, Duffer.
Hey, no problem. Mike Thompson, one half the goaltending tandem. How's it going, Mike?
Keep him busy and keep busy during these days.
How about Jay Thorimbert, NLL all-time leader in face-off wins? How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
No problem. No problem. Chris White, how we doing down there?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Pretty good.
Good to be here.
Does this one conjure up tough memories when you think of where you were standing to watch this whole thing end?
A little bit. Didn't play much of the game, so I think it might have been third shift in. So it was a tough one, but the guys played well and got to celebrate afterwards. So.
Exactly, and your career certainly made up for that because you had a wonderful run there. Phil Sanderson as well. Phil, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you doing?
Everyone's good here. It's a nice gathering. And the other half of the goaltending tandem, Ken Montour with the best hair. How are you, Ken?
Yeah, Monty.
Hey, how's it going? I'm good. How are you?
We're wonderful. The greatest of all time, and John Tavares is joined us once again. Hey, JT, how are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thanks for having me. Nice to be back
and
on.
the guy who, the man who I think when the ball hits the floor, has the opening face-off at the home games, the guy who's really kind of got the pulse of the team and has since this Bandits franchise began, is in-arena announcer Chris Swenson. Swenny, great of you to join us. How are you feeling seeing all these familiar faces?
I think it's pretty cool, actually. It does definitely bring back memories. I'm still probably the oldest guy here, but it's pretty cool. And I do envy Kenny's hair. I can't believe how that's grown out. Kenny, that's what I was saying. I'm gonna need you to tug on that a little bit later on, though. I want to make sure it's real.
Yeah, make sure it's real. Okay, I'll do that.
That a boy. No, I appreciate it. This is fun. It's awesome. You guys put this together, man, and. It's good to see all these guys and Speedy and everybody, so it's good. It's good.
Yes, Wayne.
Well, Patty, what do you think of when you think of 2008? I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind with this group?
Oh, it was a ride. Like the whole year was crazy, right from the start right till the end. It was unbelievable. Like, and the group of guys, we never had much more fun than that team did together. So. That's a big part of why we won it. I think we just had a good mix of guys, and we all did our thing. Is this Loeffler coming in? Look at this guy.
he might just sit there quietly. We'll see if he wants to chime in a little later.
Is the guy coming in too?
Well, only if we tell stories that aren't meant for air, right?
Yeah. Well, there's too many of those, so I'll just stick to the G-rated version, fellas.
Well, you guys can certainly all play off of one another. So who wants to follow Pat's lead there as far as, some of the stories within this group and why it was so special?
One thing I remember is everybody saying we're like a family afterwards, and that's one thing I really recall too. Like we're all brothers. We all had a personal battle that year. I know I had an injury and personal loss myself, and like we all had something to battle through, and we all helped each other along the way, and it's went a long way and went right to the end.
Yeah, no, strongly agree, Mikey. And I thought because of how many different spots the guys were coming from, it was good chemistry because from how far you guys had to travel to get to practice, and everybody did have to. It was a good brotherhood because everybody knew the sacrifices everybody was making and respected that aspect of it as well, right?
Yeah, to go off of that family stuff. That was my first year, really. I was on the practice squad with Rochester, and then had signed with Boston, and they decided not to play in that 2008 year. And I got lucky with, having played for my, hometown team. But that was my first year, and I was, welcomed with open arms. JT and Kilgore is, these guys are Hall of Famers, the best of the best, and everybody else was just so welcoming and said they were helpful not only off the floor but on the floor, telling me what things to do, what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, and it was just an incredible group to play with, and friendships, and continuing to coach in the league now, and still in contact with so many people because of that team. It was really, really cool.
I don't think a lot of people understand the commitment that some of the guys have and had on that team. Guys like Brandon Francis and Mikey Thompson. If I'm missing anybody else on that team that traveled all the way from Akwesasne. Akwesasne is about a 5. How long is it, Mikey? 5, 6 hours?
6, yeah, a good 6 hour.
6 hour
7, 8,
drive.
7, 8 during
So
traffic jams in Toronto.
these guys would drive to Grimsby on a Tuesday night for I don't remember what time, 8 o'clock practice, ends at 10, drive 5 hours home to get back in the car on Friday night and drive back to Buffalo for a 6 hour drive. And then go back to Akwesasne on Sunday. So when you see guys like that commitment level, it really brings people together and makes you appreciate your position on the team.
Hey, JT, it didn't take as long for them to drive down as it took for Laverty to sign on.
I know.
Is Labs on?
He's still
You're chirping you hard, Lav.
Anyway, when you guys are doing that, Mikey, and I know Brandon's not on this, but that shows a huge commitment. And I must say, I've always admired people who are very committed, and it just makes you want to work harder for them.
Really well said. I mean, I've always admired all you guys because, I mean, you always have something else going on in your life, and yet you would never know it the minute you step on the floor. It's like that's all that matters. That's what you've always been dedicated to. And there's often, I mean, you guys have, for the most part, a lot of you played on different teams other than JT, obviously, and yet you find a way to make it work. But that year in particular didn't start as well as you would have liked, but you had a blistering finish to the year. Do you remember why and when it might have all started to piece together properly for you?
I think just the pieces just fell together, like I said just a minute ago. And a lot of us had stuff going on throughout the year. And I think just progressing everything, like pieces just fell together. Like health-wise, everybody was healthy at the right time, and everybody was in a positive mind back home, and that's really important as well. And just came together at the right time, I think.
Yeah, the good thing I think with veteran teams and teams that are close, you take the rough times, and there's ebbs and flows in a season, and you just wait till the playoffs, and that's a new season. So it's kind of think what happened. We were all in that mindset.
Team too, and a mature team. I know JT had 10 years, but I know I was getting close. So you do when you start sniffing the end.
And Sanderson, you drinking? You okay over there? No, that's that Wi-Fi in Orangeville. You guys have issues over there.
This Wi-Fi thing's incredible.
Is that dial-up?
No, Mario.
That voice changer on.
I think he's in witness protection.
Where are the colors?
For me, I guess I remember going through like mid-season a lot of adversity there, where when we're playing in New York at Madison Square Garden there, and Greg Pizer ran over Mikey, put him right over the crossbar. I never seen anything like that to this day, where somebody just blatantly ran the goalie like that. I felt so bad for Mikey, and I had to go in there, and then I remember it was Dalby. Dalby was such a hard worker that year, and he was he was really trying his best, and he got a penalty in overtime, and then they scored and they beat us. I remember that, and it was like a Sunday afternoon game in New York City, and it just felt like after that it's just like, okay, we're not losing no more, and we're gonna pull it together, and we done that. And everybody played good and we did well.
Yeah, and the two of you, I mean, Mike and Ken, I mean, it was amazing just to see how balanced the contributions of both of you were all the way through, including in the playoffs. I mean, what is that like for you two when you're in that position? Obviously, you always want to play, but you're making it sound like there was just a pretty incredible amount of support for one another.
Yeah, totally. Either way, yeah.
We're both team guys, you know, that's number one. That's, you know, the ego, check the ego at the door, and everybody plays for the team. You know, if you're up, play your best and do the best you can. And I supported Mike, and, you know, he had an amazing career, amazing season that year, and I was just happy just to be there alongside him. Because I was coming in from Philly the year before, so, you know, I was really happy just to get on a good team with all you guys and so many good players and all great star players that we had. It was just amazing.
I think it was your guys' demeanor. Sorry, like interrupted. You guys are always serious, never giggling or anything like that. You guys all have the same attitude. You're that kind of thing. Kept the room really tight.
I'll grab a couple extra pints, catch up the.
Can you repeat that?
No, please don't.
Hey,
I'm trying to have a deep down, heartfelt conversation about.
Brian, if I remember correctly, I think we had a really good home record that year. You know, we
Tremendous.
I think we were like 7-1 or 7-2 or something at home, and I think that is a tribute to the great crowds that we get there in Buffalo and all the support. And you know, when you're a fan like that and you're playing home, you want to protect your home turf, and I think that was a big part of why we ended up in first place that season.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. In your division, 4 teams tied at 10-6, and somehow you guys managed to get the tiebreaker, which was all important, given that it gave you home field all the way through. However, just talking about the 2 netminders here, they combined for 9 of Buffalo's 10 wins that year. Can you name the other goaltender who secured you a victory that season?
Is that Mans or Comer?
His name was
Danny Sands.
Danny Sands.
Was that Chicago?
Did he set the record for saves?
It was my
He
driver.
set the record, and I just double-checked it. It is still a Bandits franchise single-game record. He made 60 saves in a 13-8 win versus Chicago. And if you don't get that in Chicago, you don't have home field all the way through.
Yeah, we dominated that game.
They had a new statistician that game, and he was counting the shots and warm-ups, I heard.
Well, it was Dan's only NLL win, and it couldn't have come at a better time for you guys. And
I'm just wondering, did he ever get another opportunity to play? Is that his only game ever?
he had a few minutes in a couple other games and dressed without playing, but no other start. No, and
Mikey, was it Mikey that got hurt that year? Mikey, is that you got hurt?
Yeah, I was concussed
hurt?
that year. Yeah.
That's when you got run over?
Yeah.
And then Ken obviously was hurt that particular week, I guess, and couldn't go as well. So
yeah.
Well, you guys both deal with concussions, right? I mean, was it at the same time, Mikey, or no?
Both of us, yeah, but I got it first, and you got concussed, and
yeah, it was
like
within
both of us were just still feeling the effects throughout the season going into the next year, and yeah. Back now, yeah.
But yeah, you know, and the thing is, Duffer, too, when you talk about the records, I mean, for me, I'm always looking at the year and how I think it's going to shape out, and what's the perspective going to be from a fan's perspective, and how the team's going to do and draw and all those things. And quite honestly, there was so much parity in the league that year. I don't know. I'm interested to hear from you guys. Did you really feel? I think you do, right? I think everybody always feels like they're going to win, and they've got the team to go and win. And I think you had a good mix between scoring, goaltending, and some grit with Brandon Francis and Billy D and others. But I would just say to you guys, I mean, for me, that was one of the surprise years to win the championship, as opposed to the early years when you knew the team was really dominant, even though Philly and other teams were good. I mean, do you guys feel like you kind of snuck one there, or did you guys really felt like you had the team?
Well, I say leading into the championship game, I remember that a lot more, and I know it was a lot of parity in there that year. But going in playing against Portland, and nothing against Portland, but I felt like we were favorites to win the game, and I thought we were to win the game. And I was actually surprised how close the game was. As a matter of fact, they almost tied the game. So when you say that, kind of, I'm trying to go back to the season. I'm like, Brian, you just said it was three or four team tie for first place, so it must have been pretty tight. So to me, that tells me that there was a lot of good teams in the league, a lot of parity, and it was up for grabs. And I think, like you said, Chris, we had a well-balanced attack. We had great goaltending, great defense, great transition, great offense. We had toughness. We can win different ways. And being such a tight-knit group that had a lot of fun, I think that contributed to our success come towards the end of the year and winning the championship ultimately.
Yeah, I want to say Portland's record was very similar, but I think their output for the year was similar too, in goals for, goals against. So I was shocked, quite honestly, that it was as close as it came down to just that one goal at the end, right?
And they had a great opportunity to tie it up too.
Yeah, I threw the ball away, boys. And to Phil Sanderson. And he got pasted by what was it? How tall is that
that's
guy?
right, on the breakout. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Morgan.
Morgan put him into the boards. And then
I got a piece of the stick at the end there on that opportunity.
before you got here, JT, I said I wanted to see you win it in OT again, just to replay 92.
That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. At home.
Who was the goalie for Portland that year? Was that Dallas?
He was backing up. Disher was in net that game.
Yeah, Disher. I was going to say Disher, I thought.
Matty. Oh, I hate playing against Matty. Matty played in Buffalo. That guy, he's the most underrated goalie there is. And he is, I remember Matty Disher. He spent a few years in Buffalo. He's he's built to be a lacrosse goalie. He's exceptionally long arms. And there was one warm-up before a game when we just got to go in and shoot on the goalie like a break, but I think it was about 20 shots in a row. We couldn't score on the guy. So hopefully Matty's doing well. I don't know where the story's going, but I really enjoyed Matty as a teammate.
He was actually hurt the week before in the semifinals, sprained his MCL. Dallas came in, but they still went with Matt in the start, and then there was a couple of moments in the game where you could notice the Disher was really laboring. And one of them actually, JT, was you had shorthanded breakaway, and after you didn't score, Disher was really slow to get up, and then Billy D creates another shorthanded opportunity, and he scores on the sequence. And that I think had you up 13-11 maybe going into the fourth quarter. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Swenny, you were talking about how close it was. So the Bandits go 10-6 in this season. 2 of the losses were to Toronto. 2 of the losses were to Rochester, and neither of those teams made the playoffs.
Right.
So
Good thing.
But that's how tight your division was. I mean, it was just incredible. So is Labs going to speak up in this one or what?
How's it going, guys? Just figuring things out here.
Your house for sale.
Shut up, Sanderson. At least I sound better than you. We got better internet here than you do, that's for sure.
I'm missing half the conversation, to be honest with you.
Phil's going to have to log out and log in, I think. It might be the only way we fix this audio problem. But so one thing I wanted to ask you guys, because, I mean, we've got a great mix here of offensive players and defensive players and goaltenders. I mean, the year was so tight. It was also the year that Ethan Iannucci scores 71 times for Philadelphia. And you end up seeing them in the playoffs. And I'm wondering what it was like when you're going up against a guy that's that dialed in, and maybe from every position, if you guys want to take it, because he got his goals against you in the playoff game too, but you guys were able to outscore them 14-12 ultimately.
When did he end up getting that game? Do you know, Brian?
I think he had 4 or 5. You guys beat him 14-12.
But you were down 25 shots as well, so that's kind of how we went.
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah,
We knew we had JT on our side, so.
Yeah, I was covering him.
Oh, yeah, JT.
We just outscore him.
Well, he was locked in, but you guys, that game, Kersey really stepped up in the fourth quarter, to give you guys that boost. And then the next playoff game against New York was a little more lopsided in your favor, as both JT and Mr. Stainhouse had some pretty big games going. JT, what do you recall from those playoff games, if anything?
God, I'm trying to think of the game. As you was talking, I was trying to think of situations in that championship game. And I don't even remember who we played in the semifinals. You just told us New York.
Yeah.
And I don't recall that game at all. But I do remember, for whatever reason, when I think of that Portland game, I think of the last 30 seconds of the last couple of possessions, and we're up by a goal. Actually, we're up by 2. They scored, faced off to get the ball again, and they had 2 glorious opportunities to tie the game up, and I just remember celebrating after that. I don't know why. I can't remember a lot up to that point, but
I don't think you got off the floor in the second half, did you, JT?
I don't remember. I know I was on the floor for the last defensive opportunity. Having Chris out was a big loss to our defense, and Darius asked me to go last-minute defense there. And I remember being on the crease and having, like, Morgan, I don't know which one, like 260, 270, setting a seal on me and feeling helpless. But that's the main part I remember is just the ending of it and the celebration afterwards. I don't remember a lot about the game, unfortunately. I need to watch that game back.
Well, it was interesting because it was you guys had a 2-goal lead, multiple times, but you played more than half of that fourth quarter just nursing a 1-goal lead. And obviously, Mikey, you had some incredible moments, including one kind of lying on your back and just getting the stick up at the last second there. And I'm sure you remember those moments pretty well.
I think that was a 2-on-1. I think it was Ray Guzzi.
You guys know Ray Guzzi. You know Ray Guzzi passed away, right?
Yeah, I think I did hear that.
An accident on a vacation.
So that when you think about how close that game was, and just trying to what give us a sense of what Darius was like on the bench at that point in time, and obviously JT, you've been around forever. I mean, just what's it like trying to manage a game that's that close and had obviously been that high scoring up until that point?
I mean, it's important that the coach is under control and understands all the situations, which Darius did. And even though we had some chances, I still think that we knew that we were going to come out on top. Patty, even if they scored there, we went in overtime, I still believe we would have won that game. But there was a lot of composure on the bench, even and that's probably why we were able to hold a 1-2 goal lead for the entire quarter. And at the end of the game, we prevailed. So I think just a lot of composure and confidence in our team.
So, Johnny, you mentioned it earlier, too. You talked about the fact that you didn't think – just thought you would beat Portland. I'm guessing you felt like – I don't say it would be easy. At the end of the day, I didn't think you'd think it'd come down to 1 goal. I mean, at any point, Speedy or anybody else, Jay, did you guys feel like, this wasn't supposed to go this way or be this tight? Did you kind of feel like this could go either way? I kind of felt that way.
No, I mean, we had a couple cracks at the cup there before this as a team.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I think we knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Yeah.
I think
I think we took a lot of experience from losing to Colorado the way we did, because that game got away from us in a hurry, and we were out of it very early in that game. And I think just the experience from that alone helped us in that, keeping that game close and being able to come out on top.
And you guys, I'm an old man, so I don't remember, but when you think back to the Calgary, and you think back to the Colorado losses, I want to say you guys favored of those, right? I mean, you guys went in home field advantage, favored for those games like you were for Portland. But again, it came down to 2 quick losses, and I think wasn't Calgary you guys got out a little slow as well? They kind of came on, and then with Portland, you had the lead, but it was tight.
Yeah, Calgary. I think we were up, and I think they ran the goalie again. It was Chugger got hit in the crease, and I think that changed the tide. I remember.
What year was Calgary that we lost?
We lost out there, I think. In
04.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the jersey back there.
Yeah.
04 we lost to Calgary. 05 we lost in the semis to Rochester. 06 we lost in the finals to Colorado. 07 we lost in the semis, and then 08 we finally won it. It was a 5-year stretch of semis or finals.
Yeah, not too many people like to come into our house there with Swenny down and calling it. That was great.
We try to make it uncomfortable, that's for sure.
Fantastic box. So.
I think Chris made a good point there that that loss at home, that 2004 to Colorado. I think we didn't want to take anything for granted, even though we knew we were the better team, and we didn't want the same thing to happen because that was an embarrassing championship game. We went into that game thinking we were going to walk all over Colorado. I don't know what the final score was, but I think they beat us pretty bad.
It was ugly.
Yeah, it was 9-1 at one point, I think, or 7-1.
Yeah, penalty troubles did not help in that one.
Billy said don't mention his 5-minute T-tuck.
Yeah, but Billy was pretty darn good in the 08 one. There's no question about that. I was going to say when you first all got on the call today that I don't recognize any of you because y'all had Mohawks back then. Take us into the Mohawk story and how much of that grooming happened on the actual game day.
Well, I'm gonna start off by saying I've considered actually going back to the Mohawk through the Corona because I'm cutting my own hair and I think the Mohawk would be a lot easier to actually maintain than what I have now. This lid here is just not happening for me right now. So I kind of like the Mohawk. Kind of made me feel more of like a rebel, and it was kind of popular. I really liked it, and it was great to have the majority of the guys on the team actually had it done, which was great. Some guys couldn't do it because of work commitment, but whatever. It was awesome. I enjoyed it.
But even most of the guys that couldn't do it for work commitments, they did it pretty much for that final game, and we pretty well had the whole team doing it. So
was it everybody? I can't remember. Was it everybody?
I know.
Mark definitely didn't do it.
Mark.
No, not Mark.
That's it. I knew there was one. I couldn't remember.
Well, he had a hair contract, didn't he? He couldn't do it with his hair contract. He was selling wigs at the arena.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they'd have to make up a new one. That would be awesome. They'd make a Mohawk, orange, curly Mohawk for him.
I had always rocked long hair. I think that was the first time I had ever actually buzzed my head and left a little streak.
Petey's got the Mohawk back.
Here it is, boys.
There it is.
Jay, I was going to ask you. So you, even though you were on the practice squad, you went all in with the Mohawk, huh?
Yeah, you had to. I mean,
That's fabulous.
I kept on saying it. Everybody was a part of it, and everybody, had to be involved and act like a family. So if everybody was doing it, I was doing it. And being a rookie and sitting there watching it, there's no way I was gonna.
Brandon probably grabbed a hold of you or something.
Yeah, Brandon held me down and shaved it. I think he was giving me haircuts in the bathroom, right? So
Brandon,
I can't imagine
that. When we wake up in the morning, we all had a Mohawk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mohawk and empty bottles of Southern Comfort.
So on that team, who was it? Was it Billy D or was it Brandon? Who was the toughest?
Ooh.
Well, I would say Billy D's one of the toughest guys that never has to fight. But guys who actually fight, I would be saying Brandon. And a lot of people don't know, but Laverty can throw them too.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Like he's just sitting way back in the background, not even wanting to say anything.
I think it's safe to say that Brando was our heavyweight that year.
Yeah.
Well, JT, just looking at some of the footage, I mean, Billy Deed obviously been in the league for a while, but I felt like he got even bigger as the years went on. I mean, when he ran the floor for that shorthanded goal, I'm like, holy cow, this guy's fast. And then I'm thinking, like when 2016 rolls around, I'm thinking, I can't imagine Billy D was that fast.
Well,
But
Billy went from being skinny and super fast to really big, and he didn't cross center. That's kind of what Billy's. Hey, I was just thinking, did Brett Bucktooth play on that 2018
yep.
Yeah, he
He's
scored
another
some
guy
big
from
goals.
Sosny, right? There's 3. He doesn't live in Sosny. Where does he live?
No, it was in Onondaga.
Onondaga, but that's still a long drive too. I knew there's somebody else.
Just so you know, Billy
Bucktooth had a big Bucktooth had a big game in the finals. I remember he scored a couple big goals for us.
He had a bit of a twister backhand as he was going.
Yeah.
It was what a
on
shot
his,
that was.
on his wrong side.
Wrong side twister, yeah.
And I was gonna. I'm glad you bring up Bucktooth because I think the way you guys introduced the whole setup to the year, and I'm sure this speaks to every team that wins, but there were so many individual stories along the way that emerged. And I mean, you go out and you bring Micah Kersey back, and I mean, my goodness, he had a monster playoff for you guys. You had was it Dosty that
Dosty scored a big goal.
I think he scored. I want to say Dosty had a hat trick every game in the playoffs. So your depth was really, really significant, obviously, and that's kind of what this game is all about, isn't it?
Didn't Dosty win? Didn't he win like the MVP for the major series that year too? Like he was hot.
Yeah,
he was hot.
Yeah.
Dosty and JT, they ran like basically an inverted I. So imagine both the left-handed players are up high, and not a lot of people in the league had seen that. And I remember they ripped defenses apart that year. They really used that a lot that year, right? JT, do you remember that? Or?
Yeah, him and I worked really well together. We kind of fed off each other, and we worked together in practice quite a bit. And then we had the opportunity to play in Akwesasne that summer, and he had a great summer there and got the MVP, as you said, in the Summer Lacrosse League. But another guy who played well, I think he got a big goal for, was Roger Weiss too.
Yep. Yeah, him and Dosty were both 20-goal guys, and you had Delby and Corey, who were pretty high-ranking as far as points on your team. It just seemed like there was just the right mix, huh?
And when you say right mix, the guy I start thinking about is Brendan Francis. He played offense. And when you've got a guy that tough on offense, you automatically become really tough yourself. So I played at about 180 pounds. And when he's on the team, I was about 220 pounds. So it was nice having that luxury of having a tough guy play. And he's a left-handed player just like I am. So it's nice having him on my side of the floor.
All right. So if JT can't answer this, but everybody else can. What happened? What did JT do to start the championship game? Hidden ball trick. About 15 seconds in, you're up 1-0.
Did it work? It worked?
Yeah. Of course it did. The cameras, we didn't get a replay on the broadcast till about 5 minutes later because the cameras missed it completely. I can't imagine.
Was he by the Bandits bench with that one? Was that where it was?
Again, the camera work, Swenny, was so bad, it was hard to see where all the exchange actually happened, but they were watching, JT wasn't even in the screen. And so from the high end camera at the back, you're looking close to center floor as the ball presumably was being walked this way, but JT's off screen over here. You can see Dish completely looking the other way, and JT, you rifled it from a long ways, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah. You know what's surprising about that is that's not the first time he's done that. So you would think, you would think people would be on to that, right? But
yeah.
Well, usually it works a little better late in the game, but usually it doesn't. You work early in the game. So you know what, Brian, I do not remember that play.
I definitely remember you doing it. I just don't. I can't remember specifically, if it happened that game. But I mean, obviously, I believe Duffer. But if now that I'm seeing it, for some reason I see you by the Bandit bench and firing it probably from the blue line, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, Swenny. Yeah.
And nothing's better from my standpoint or from a crowd standpoint than a play like that, because everybody just erupts and it's just awesome.
Yeah, well, they also erupted when JT decided to go 1-on-4 later in the game for his other tally. And, you know, when you're in our line of work, Swenny, where you're talking for a living, when you hear announcers like kind of lose their mind when the goal is so good, like Shanahan was just like, JT, he was like, he hadn't seen you do that in years. And it was just around one, around another, and then, you know, just toe tapping on the doorstep and Deacon Disher, you know, right out of it. It was amazing.
I do remember that because I've seen it. I've seen the replay of that a few times. And I must say, I've not scored many goals like that in my career, to be honest with you. The one goal I do remember really well was kind of like the turning of the guards, if you will, and changing of the guards, if you will. It was Mark Steenhouse against Brody Merrill. Brody came up really high to check Mark, and Mark just leaned, and Mark was very strong and great balance. Just leaned towards the middle and ran full speed and just left Brody in the dust, went down the middle and scored. For whatever reason, I remember that goal very well. I haven't seen highlights of it, but the one you're talking about, mine, I have seen highlights. It's one of the I like to show my son because I don't have a lot of highlight reel goals.
Yeah.
Johnny, I got to ask, Johnny, are you on Tinder? What are you swiping for, bud? I'm a little confused.
You know what? I'm actually just doing a little bit of work. I got this online teaching. I got the kids were working on an assignment. They're asking me questions left, right, and center. So
A little OT for you. OT for
Pardon?
JT. Little OT for JT.
no, the online teaching starts about 7 in the morning, and I literally get messages at 2 in the morning where I'm sleeping. Like people, like the kids' sleeping hours are all over the place. So kids are messaging me literally any time of the day. I don't respond right away, obviously, but today they had an assignment, so I'm just helping them out a little bit. Sorry, just to get back to the game, I do remember Mikey Thompson making a lot of big breakaway saves. Mikey, you made a lot of breakaway saves that game. I remember a couple. I Brody Merrill, and I don't know the other guy's name. Yeah, I had a couple, like 3. I think at least 3 breakaway saves that game.
Another day in the office for Mikey. He doesn't remember. He's
concussed half the season. You don't remember?
Yeah. I want to know what you were thinking in the last minutes of that game. 14-13, they've got the ball. I mean, what are you thinking at that point? Besides, don't give it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just stop the ball. Just do my job.
Are the butterflies there at that time, or are you beyond that?
It's like it's like Duffer was saying a little bit ago. I was like, it could have went either way, but we were confident. I was just trying to keep my cool and just trying to see the ball well.
There was an amazing shot of you, Mike, at the end. Like it was almost like it was chaos, obviously, around you. It was almost a little bit of confusion too, because I don't think everybody was sure that time had fully run out. But then you just kind of turn around, and it was like you were in your own world, and you were just like taking the biggest breath you could. Everybody else is freaking out, and you're just like looking around at the crowd, and it's just like, oh.
I just took that second to take that moment in. I knew I stopped the ball and Flip got the rebound, and I knew that was the time. The time was up. I just sat down and waited for a second before I got mauled. I think I still do have an injury from that night too. Smashed my wrist on somebody's helmet and I got a scar. Good scar though.
Swenny, what when it ended, do you remember what goes on at that point in time? As far as, because like I can hear you in the background and all this stuff, you know, like, do you recall what that was like? What kind of, you know, program there was, if there was anything going?
You know, I mean, I get caught up in a lot of that stuff, quite honestly, emotionally. I mean, I kind of feed off of these guys, and I've been doing a lot of things for a long time between the Sabres and the Bandits and Destroyers and Wings and all different things. And not that I didn't love all those things, but this, to me, the Bandits has always been something very special. The relationship with the guys has always been pretty special. They've always been good to me and my family. I just say that at that point, I mean, emotionally, it was kind of overcoming me a little bit. And I was struggling to keep composed, and I knew that I just had to lean on the fans and just get a couple of chants out there, and the fans would jump in on it. And then I knew I also had to get to the field because we wanted to do some post-game interviews, things there. And they were doing the pictures and all that. So it was kind of bedlam. And I would just tell you that I wasn't nearly as prepared as I could have been, just because the emotion just kind of took over, right? And I love to win. I'm a competitive guy. And, you know, the fact that we did miss out in some championships, I want to say that there was 9 or so. We got 4. I think, Duffer, you said 10. I don't know. I counted 9, but I'm sure you're right. But, you know, losing those, they bug me just as much if they bug you guys, right? So, you know, to answer your question, I just think I was excited. I was pumped up. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to be part of the action. And I know I'm not part of the team. I know that that's not my place necessarily. Got to be careful that I don't cross that line. But, you know, to me, it was an awesome experience. There's nothing like Banditland, and there's nothing like winning champions.
Well, you've been there from the start, Swenny.
I have.
You're part of this team, Swenny.
What's that?
You're part of this team.
Appreciate that, Mikey. Thank you. I'll be over for dinner.
Anytime.
I know. You're a good man. No, I had been. It's, you know, and in the beginning, you know, it's different because I wasn't employed by the team. I was employed by the mill. So
Right.
it was different, right? So you know, working for the ownership and Ed Wada and all those guys in those early years. And quite honestly, I know next year's our 30th season, and you know, for these guys, Johnny's been there for as long as I have. I never expected it to be there as long as it has, right? You kind of look at this and, you know, you think it's going to last 2-3 years. It's kind of one of those beer drinking leagues that's going to fade. And, you know, to my complete surprise and also to my enjoyment, it's here 30 years later, and I hope it's here for another 100. I mean, I think it's the best kept secret, and not enough people know about this sport, know about the league, the players, and how much these guys all care. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome.
18,690 for that championship game in 2008. And I'm sure every one of you on this call can appreciate what that feels like when you're an athlete living the moment in front of those guys. And I'm sure based on the humble beginnings for most lacrosse players, sometimes you can't even imagine that you would ever get on a stage like that, right?
What year did we break the record? Was that 08 or 09?
You mean for single game attendance, or
No, for total attendance for the year. I think we beat Colorado one of those years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, and that's the beauty. Everybody, you know, you always want to talk about your home base being so strong, but the league needs to have a lot of strong bases too. And thankfully, you know, Denver's almost always been one of them, and it's been terrific. But I don't know, like, what is it like when you're standing there in the middle of it all in Banditland?
I'd love to. It was awesome. Like I know I was only there for a short period of time, and but the atmosphere. Whenever I promote the game of lacrosse, I send them to Banditland, and I tell them there's no other sporting event that you're gonna have a better time at. I tell them get tickets behind the penalty box and just sit back and have fun. And it's amazing, and we feed off of it as an athlete, and they are the seventh player on the field, I guess, and it was amazing playing in front of that many people every single night.
You get goosebumps every time you hear after the anthem, and all the fans go crazy. That's even as a visiting player, it's a special place.
You often hear other players talk. You know, I think Dane Dobie talked a little bit about the NLL chat. They talk very highly of Buffalo and the fan base and playing in that city. So it speaks volumes, right? And Phil, I know you played in Toronto, and Toronto had some really good years, and they had some good draws. I'm not going to ask you to compare or tell us which one you like best. A little wink will do it, but
you asked me that after the game. You threw me on the spot after the game that night. I remember that specifically because a couple of old Toronto Rock fans actually gave it to me at the bar after that. But no, winning there, it was incredible. It was a different Banditland. Like I tell a story as well to everybody. Like the opening practice of the year when we let all the fans come in and watch, and like playing in Toronto, and we get about 300 people, 400 people for those. Albany, we'd probably get about 4. Same in San Jose. But when I came to Buffalo, and I know in 2008 was my first year where I had that first game, or that first practice with the fans, and they were lined up twice around the corridor, and I just couldn't believe it. And everybody was dressed in their game wear, and just their personalities, and how much they actually loved Bandit Land. And it was pretty special, and how knowledgeable they are, and just how great people they are, and how much they did love us and support us.
Well, Phil, boy, you were spot on that attendance mark. 143,000 in 2009 to set the league attendance record because of the efforts of you guys in 2008, which of course pushed the season tickets and all the rest of it through the roof for that next season, where they were almost sold out entirely. So that's the dream, right? You just keep trying to build the fan base, keep it sustained. And I mean, Whitey, you were, my God, what, 8 years, I think, with the Bandits?
I think so, yeah.
And so aside from, you know, the tough personal ending to that particular championship game, I mean, what's the standout moment for you when you're thinking about playing all those years in Buffalo?
Again, the fans, I mean, you can't compare it to anything else. As soon as those bagpipes start playing, your blood gets flowing, and I don't want to say jitters, but you're ramped up for each game coming out of that tunnel, that's for sure. And the next thing was the teammates, coaches. I can't say anything but good things about my experience there. It was tough to leave when I did, but you know, all good things come to an end eventually. But no, it was a great place to play. You know, and I think going to practice every Tuesday in Grimsby just made it that much more special, being that spending that much time with the guys week in and week out. I think playing in the East and back when we did, having a lot of the guys from Eastern Ontario that we could get together every week, just it brought our team closer together. And we were always a tight-knit group. We were always going out for dinner after the games, you know, going up Friday nights and spending time at the hotel together. And
What was that restaurant, JT? Sorry, Whitey. What was that? Sneaky Pigs or whatever? Where the hell was that we went to?
The rib place. It was the rib place.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything about Buffalo was great to me, and couldn't ask for a better place to spend the majority of my career.
Patty, what was your moment?
You know what? I know we really haven't touched on this guy yet, but Richie Kilgore. He was our captain that year, and I really wanted to kind of win it for him that year too. He was you didn't know how much longer, you know, him or JT would be around, but JT lost another decade. But we really wanted to win it for Richie. Kind of that year, Mikey mentioned it. He had some personal loss. I'd lost my dad that year, and Richie and Darius lost their dad. So they touched on that a little bit heading into it, and kind of all year long. That's what we were playing for, I know. So we had some help on our sides. That stick save that Mikey made, maybe somebody else kind of was holding his stick for him that time. But yeah, we had some help on our side that night, and it was good. Back to the Buffalo thing too. I went to another team after, and somebody kind of said, what's it like playing in Buffalo? And I'm like, it's the funnest place to play in the world. And they're like, well, you know, it's fun here. And I'm like, buddy, I go, you got no idea. You got no idea. It's not even. He goes, well, we won a few. And I'm like, yeah, well, we did all right too, buddy. But unless you were in that room and on the bench, you just wouldn't have an idea, like the shenanigans that went on. And it was incredible. I remember Darius one time, we were down at half, and I don't think it was in that year, but he came in and ripped us a new one.
Shocker.
And a story came up about one of the guys that got traded to our team from Peterborough. So Billy D kind of made the guy tell the story, and he told us a story. And Darius comes back in to rip us another one because that's the only kind of speed he had. And he comes in, and we're on the ground laughing, like just laughing, all the whole team. And Darius looks at us and he goes, "I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but just get back out there." And we went back out and came back from like a 9-0 deficit or something. It was crazy. That was the kind of team we had. We had fun. It you know what I mean? We were there to win. We were there to play hard, but it was about fun too. And that's what we were about.
Hey, Joe, what was it like for you as a Buffalo guy?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to be able to have, so many family and friends, at those games. It was obviously convenient for me, selfishly. But, just knowing Buffalo fans in general, how passionate they are, not only with the Bills and the Sabres, but, the Bandits have their own group of fans, obviously, we know, so passionate. So, I think it was a, perfect marriage. Guys talked in the locker room, about being so close in previous years to winning the championships, and Buffalo fans, always thirsting for a championship. And I think we worked really hard in practices, and, Darius really rode us hard, and we worked hard, and we answered that bell a lot of times. And, I think it all came together with, previous years, we had the fans backing us. So everything kind of just, married together perfectly that year was my feelings.
Jay, I'm curious if you knew what you were walking into when you were observing that whole season, and how much that it might ultimately help pave the way for what has been a terrific career for you that's still going.
Yeah, I mean, it was a team full of veterans for me, so it was coming in there, sitting back and just kind of absorbing it all, like all the fun stuff, all the serious stuff, getting yelled at, screamed at, and it kind of, let you get like used to what was to come with all the new different guys you're going to meet. So learned a lot, and the veterans there were second to none. So it was a good first team for me to be.
All right, somebody's got to start the proceedings here as to how good the post-game celebration was after the 08 championship.
And if
Labs.
Well, when Chris, when you were explaining, how it what it's like to play in Buffalo, I thought for sure you were gonna say Cobblestones. Cobblestones was a fun place to go to.
It was great.
Every home game, I got to give kudos to Daryl. Daryl is the owner of Cobblestones, and he literally just stay as long as we wanted and enjoy ourselves. We kind of took over the bar, if you will. It became a home away from home. We're in Buffalo there. It just kind of became our place. It was very intimate. The majority of the team was there. A lot of fans, a lot of interaction between the fans and the players. And I thought that brought, everybody together. And that's kind of where, besides practicing and working hard on the floor, I think we became more of a group at Cobblestones that year.
Yeah, and it just didn't last one night. Like, it went downtown. I know Buffalo kind of really enjoyed it as well. They had us down for almost like a parade in the square and everything. It was a fun couple of weeks there for sure.
Yeah, Lafayette Square, right? We did a little rally there.
Yeah, it was good times. The city of Buffalo, they were really behind us, and I don't know, maybe because everybody was running around with mohawks or whatever, but it was a fun time.
We had a dinner at the Chop House, right?
Yeah.
That was good. That was the ring night, right? We just selected rings. We did that.
No, was that night?
I think so, wasn't it?
We got the rings the next year.
No, you didn't get the rings, but we were getting fitted that night.
Yeah. Nice.
Boys.
Yeah, I got the same thing, and I was actually shocked because David Zigai said, "Swenny, go get measured." I'm like, dude, no, I'm good. I didn't. He goes, no, dude, go get measured. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm in. So that was exciting. Got a size 14. I don't even fit it. I just wanted the biggest damn ring I can get.
I would say that celebration at Lafayette Square made myself feel like we're actually a true professional team. You know, I know we're a professional team, but we're not a major league sport like a hockey or basketball. But to see so many fans celebrating that championship with you, not just, you know, watching your game, but going out and celebrating that at that moment, I felt like, wow, this is actually, I felt like a professional athlete. And it's actually, I don't know, it's a weird feeling because we were all at one point professional athletes, but just kind of made me feel like, you know, we were respected a lot more than I thought.
Oh, strongly agree there, JT. No, that was a pretty special night. No, it was see how many people were out there, and yeah, with the dinner and everything. No, it was pretty special. And Patty McCready and I, what was that? 32-ounce prime rib? Something that we tried to tackle that night.
Oh, crushed her, buddy.
There's the rally right there, boys.
Oh, nice.
If we're talking food, we got to talk that afternoon game in Chicago that we all went to the chop house or steakhouse or whatever.
The Brazilian steakhouse.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, Brazilian.
That was
that seafood place in Boston was very good too. I can't remember the name of that, Mikey.
Legal
Clam chowder.
Legal seafood.
So, Phil, tell me that the Chicago dining experience was after the victory?
No, it wasn't actually. It was.
So no wonder you gave up 68 shots to a rookie goaltender.
Yeah, well, I was sitting beside Mikey T actually at the table. I remember it fondly, and he had politely asked me to keep up with him. And I didn't eat as much as Mikey. I could eat, but not as much as Mikey. And we had an afternoon game. It was because we got in there Saturday night and early afternoon or early evening, and so everybody was hungry to get a pregame on. And somebody came up with this idea, and I'm pretty sure everybody went. And the smell in that room the next day. We like I said, with the matinee 1 o'clock game, and we were there probably till like 9 or 10 o'clock. Just Mike, if you didn't put 70 ounces of meat into you, I don't know. Because that was pretty impressive. But no, it was probably the most disgusting smell. Like I'd rather be in a dump, like in a garbage dump, than be in our 1 o'clock dressing room that next day. It was disgusting. But delicious food.
Oh, somebody's got to try and top that one. Come on. Hey, Labs, why do I feel like you're just silently waiting for that? You want to like kind of finish strong here. Tell me about your championship night. How did it go?
It was a great night. I remember being pretty tired, to be honest. I remember missing Whitey pretty bad there by the end of that, just like the guys were saying, hanging on. And to be honest, I remember it felt like we were hanging on. I mean, but it felt great, and it felt like we were well due for that one, to be honest, for a few of us that have run those last 5 years. But I think we did a good job celebrating, that's for sure. I remember, I feel like we got up the next day and I felt like it was like 9 a.m. and we looked and it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. And that was the one thing with Buffalo. I played about 5 more years after that, and that was the last year where the guys went out after every game. No matter what, we always went out. We always had a good time, whether we were on the road or especially in Buffalo. You always got those extra 2 hours drinking down on Chippewa, which we definitely didn't need. But to be honest, things changed after that in the league, and it just, you never had the nights where all the guys were going out like that anymore. And I really appreciated that, and I miss that, to be honest. So, but that was the most fun I had. Those 5 years between those 5 years in Buffalo and in Peterborough, it was a nice run.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this has been amazing. I'm going to open it up to final thoughts for all you guys, and jump in as you see fit here. We've enjoyed every moment of this conversation. I know the fans are certainly loving that too. So Pat, if you want to start us off, and whoever wants to put in some final thoughts, go for it.
No, just I think looking back, when you're living like that, you don't realize, but that's like the time of your life, and being able to share the memories with the boys and, what you went through together as a team. And also I just want to, thank Buffalo as an organization. First, Swenny, a few of us, we had a lot of penalty minutes, so we got to know him pretty good sitting in the box with him. Billy's probably best friends with him. And going right up and down from Dave Zigai at the time and Lofts who came in. And then, the coaches, which I think Cracker, Graham, Darius, and Mouse. And then all the fans. The fans drove us night in and night out, and it was easy to play. It was, you came in, you got if you're not alive those nights, you're not living, and it was amazing. And to look back on that, and to be part of Banditland, it was really special, and to share with all you guys, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's well said, Patty.
Thank you, Johnny.
I want to add. I think the common theme here is the teams that have fun together, they win together. Yeah, I think about that 2008 team, how much of a family we were, and how much we had fun. And I think even to last year's Buffalo team, we went to the championship. We came up a little bit short, but it was a party year there last year as well. Guys got along. It was a family environment. And it just makes the sport a lot more fun when everybody's getting along and not taking it too seriously, but, not confusing that with not working hard. You got to work hard to have some fun. When you have some fun together, usually there's a lot of success at the end of the season.
Well, I think a big thing like that, Johnny, is when you're that tight, you're going to fight for each other, right? I mean, just like brothers. So at the end of the day, you're going to have that fun, and there's going to be that looseness. But when that when it's you against them, no one's going to have your back better than your brother. And I think that's what you had, right? You guys were all brothers there.
Oh, for sure. And I think Joe made a great point about practice. And we did. We battled in practice. I thought we like not just ran hard, but in our checking 2-on-2 drills and whatnot, like we definitely kept each other accountable every Tuesday night down in Grimsby. And I actually looked forward to going to those nights because if you didn't come to practice, guys kept you accountable or made you look silly. And we had a good veteran team and knew hard work was going to win it. And I thought Joe probably had the strongest point was practice that year. And I really enjoyed practice just as much as, well, not as much as after the game, but as the games, because just the competitiveness we had that year, especially with Mikey T and Kenny at both ends. Like you had to shoot the score those nights, and the D guys that we had, you had to win to get open or win to get your shots and whatnot. So yeah, I really enjoyed practice that year.
Hey, I don't know if a lot of guys know this or not, but JT, what position did you play in football back in Wilfrid Laurier there?
He's muted.
You're on mute there.
Geez, sorry, my son just got home. Free safety.
Free safety. So JT is one of the leadership guys on the team. I'm sure a few of those guys watched the Michael Jordan, thing on ESPN there. But I don't know if most of the practices were closed, but sometimes JT, if he kind of felt he had the finger on the pulse and he thought we were messing around too much, we'd always do the 2-on-1 drills, and JT would honestly just step into somebody and light them up with a tackle.
It's the only time I can knock somebody down when they were.
Oh my God! And I seen him hit so many guys like that. It was crazy. And then I remember the one guy that Johnny mentioned, Ray Guzzi, God rest his soul. He was trying to get into games. He was always fighting. He was a practice guy, and he was going around slashing everybody. So Darius called us in the one time. He goes, guys, it's getting ignorant out here. Everybody's slashing this poor kid, and somebody just fight him. that was the intensity we practiced with, and it was great. It was hilarious. But yeah, that was those what they were saying.
Was Guzzi on that 2008 team?
I know he was.
He was in Portland.
He played for Portland.
He was in Portland.
He was in Portland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because he was there with Sush the year before, and then we lost Sush to the airport. But
Yeah.
That's another story we won't talk about here, but big loss.
Hey, speaking of big losses, I want to say that after that 2008 team, Laverty helped me out here, buddy. Was there a dispersal draft the following year?
It was, yep. That was my last
And
game.
I got to say that last year when you left, I think that that team really missed you, and we became a totally different team. I think you were.
I agree.
Part of
I
the team.
agree. We needed, yeah. There's no doubt he had an edge to him, man. And I know when I saw that he left, I was pretty disappointed because he was a key guy. He had some toughness and grit. It was good.
Yeah, I missed him the next year for sure. That was a big loss for us.
It was tough to go. I didn't want to, but it was my choice. But yeah, it was tough.
I remember the one game in Philly. There's a guy that was pretty tough. His name was Schneider, and he thought he was going to come up and intimidate Laverty. He called him on in the pre-games. So I think by the end of it, he had 5 or 6 of us standing shoulder to shoulder, and he said, "If you take one of us, you're taking us all." And he had nobody standing next to him, but that was the Bandits. So
yeah. And Darius on the bench chirping as loud as he could. Dan, won't you fight me? Won't you fight me, Schneider?
If we didn't have the toughest team, we sure had the toughest coach.
Oh, yeah. I've never played for a coach that called on so many guys. I loved it.
He split me for a few right there.
Oh, I miss that intensity. It was awesome.
Yeah, he did
was
bring
awesome. It. Yeah, he brought it, and he made everyone else bring it. It was great.
I remember one day during the season, he was trying to shake things up, and he changed our defense on us the day before the game, or the day of the game. And everybody's looking. All the defensive guys were not too confident. So I say something to the assistant coach, Derek Graham. I said, "Hey, Derek, the guys came up to me and they want you to say something to Darius. Maybe we should get another practice in before we go to this D." And Derek looks at me and he goes, "Well, I'm not doing it. You do it."
A lot of people don't know, but Darius was the one who started the pressure defense that a lot of teams started using that was successful with it. He was a believer in pressuring the ball, and that's what I think that's the defense you're alluding to, Pat.
Yeah, but he had we did that successfully, and that's what we won with. But that particular day, he wanted to let the crease man let their guys beat them and then slide from the other side. So,
oh yeah, I remember that.
It was really revolutionary, that kind of thinking. But
yeah, we needed more penalties.
Yeah, wonder why Mike and Kenny got hurt.
Yeah, crease dives.
Yeah, encouraging the crease dive.
So yeah, Darius was intimidating to play for, especially for the new guys. He'd rip everybody a new one, that's for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny,
I remember my first practice with you guys, getting traded from San Jose. And one of the second or third drill, I messed up, and he just started yelling, "Labs, where the hell did you get this effing guy from? He's going to be out of here after this practice," and then just lit me up the whole practice. And then it was like nothing happened out in the parking lot. And it was great ever since then.
But yeah, when I got traded there in 2007, it was halfway through the season there at the deadline. And the dirty prick. I hadn't met you guys, hadn't practiced with you guys at all. So I'm sitting in the front of the bus because I really didn't know any of you guys. And you guys all hated me because I was from Toronto and Albany and whatnot. So I played with a couple of guys. Well, hey, relax. and yeah, we're in the dressing room like 5 minutes before the game. He's giving his pregame, and he's going around. Yeah, I talked to this guy before the game, and he had some really good things to say. And I'm just gonna give him the floor before the game. And he goes, "Go ahead, Phil." And I just, you son of a bitch. And it didn't talk to me at all and just put me on the spot like you wouldn't believe. And and then he said, "Let's go." And that's when I knew I was, I was in a different world and in a fun place to play. And I think we ended up winning that night. And it was pretty special night for me because everybody was like accepted me after that. And because I had to actually go down the night before to get my P1, so I literally hadn't met anybody. So with that, he really broke the ice for me, and I loved playing for Darius and that staff that year and the few years that I was there.
Hey, Phil, I must say, for all the time you were there, one, if people don't know, Darius was a great had great pregame speech, great motivator. And I used to always like watching all the players and seeing who's paying attention, who's not paying attention, looking at the reaction. And Phil, you always had the best reaction. As soon as Darius said, let's go, Phil would be like sitting there, like shaking his legs, and he popped like 7 feet up in the air, like, let's go. And no matter what, same reaction. He'd be the first one jumping out of the seats and just kind of get the guys going. I love watching you do that.
Oh, I just wanted to get going. Like, yeah, just being around that intensity in that room that year, and yeah, just the anticipation, and I think I forget who mentioned it, the bagpipes that year, and running out of that tunnel, they're like a redhead with ADD. Like I was just ready to explode, man, after those speeches, and just knowing what was coming next, and then you're running in front of 18,000, again, the adrenaline, like. It was incredible. It was a really, really great place to play.
Phenomenal. Great memories, guys. Ken, I know you've been kind of quiet there, just soaking all this in. I just want to say I can't stress enough how I think amazing it was that both you and Mikey, kind of split the duties. Each won critical playoff games to get to that championship. And then, Ken, you go on next year to become the 2009 NLL Goaltender of the Year. And for all of you here, like you've all got these accolades along the way in your career that I just think are so impressive. And it really speaks to how you all as individuals came together to be just one of the great Bandit teams of all time in 2008. So thank you, all of you, for joining us here on the call, and continued best of health to you and your families. And hopefully we'll do this again down the road.
Thanks, Duffer.
Yeah, you as well.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, boys.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, everyone.
Be good, eh?